Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features the Incredible Hulk issue number 386, cover dated October 1991. And the cover is by Dale Keown, pencils and inks by him. Features the Hulk there and Sabra, the Israeli super soldier, superhero. And we have a cover caption pointing down towards this rather sinister looking child. Hulk and Sabra beware. There's something unnatural about that child. So that's intriguing. And one other thing I want to comment on, or a couple of things I want to comment on, is Dale Keown's inking style. I like when artists ink their own pencils, but his inking style in this particular era, it's a bit scratchy. I was having a think about what tool he might have been using, and I think he must have been using a Crow Quill dip pen. In addition, I want to comment on the screen tone there. If you pay close attention in high definition, there's a little bit of a screen tone, but it's very faint, and it doesn't seem to have reproduced well, or maybe that was the effect that Keown was going for. Let's open this one up to the splash page. There's 22 pages of story and art in this issue. The title of the story is, and now we have a sense of who or what that child is on the cover, Little Hitler. And the creative team down here: Peter David writer, Dale Keown penciler, Mark Farmer inker, Joe Rosen letters, and Glynis Oliver on the colors. So this is a member of the pantheon called Delphi, and she is a clairvoyant. She is a seer, a prophetess, and when she dips her naked hand into this scrying pool, she has visions of the future. I like the ink splash or splatter there by Mark Farmer. I think it's well done, and it gives a sense of these kind of mystical energies coming out from the scrying pool. Now let's continue and get right into the story. We have a really cool double page spread of the vision that she has in that pool. And as part of her prophesying, she speaks her prophecy in doggerel rhyme. Gods of earth and gods of air, I see chaos everywhere, she begins. Future horrors do congeal, human crushed beneath the heel of a ruler now unknown, for he is not fully grown. Nothing stops his conquest drive, no more heroes left alive, no free women, no free men, no more freedom known again, no more. And then she screams, no more. So you see images here that conjure up the Holocaust, the death camps, the concentration camps of the Holocaust. This guy here with his straight arm salute, of course, conjuring up an image of the Nazis, even though the Nazi swastika is not to be seen here, but rather what is seen is Captain America's armor, and it looks like it's been pulled from his corpse, one imagines. So an intriguing opening here. Let's continue and see what the reaction of other Pantheon members is to that scream. And here is Ulysses. He says, oh boy, that sounds like a really bad one. I better find out what Delphi saw that made her scream like that. Now, Peter David throughout is giving us little bits of information about the kind of family dynamics, because the Pantheon is a type of family. They're all quote-unquote sons of Agamemnon, and what those interactions and relationships are like. And Achilles runs towards Delphi's room, where he says to Ulysses, you're going to stay put. If Delphi's future casting, then she's naked. I know how you feel about her, and the last thing we need is to kick your hormones into overdrive. So Ulysses there, he's kind of taken aback. You think that's all I care about, that she's naked? Achilles says yes, and then he kind of smiles to himself. Yeah, well, maybe. So in goes Achilles. He wants to take care of Delphi, and she, in answer to his question whether her vision was near or far in time, she says far, 30, 40 years. Achilles, if you knew that killing one child would prevent millions of deaths, would you kill him? And we don't get a verbal reply from Achilles, but we can see that he's thinking about the question. And the question is a staple of Moral Philosophy 101, and it is a question that puts into tension the different values and principles of utilitarian ethics, where the ends justify the means, and deontological morality, where there are certain moral facts such as You cannot kill an innocent. That must never ever be violated in any circumstances, or it is morally wrong. So that's what Peter David is playing around with here. And I've said before on previous review videos of Peter David and Dale Keown's run on the Hulk that David is writing for an intelligent teenager, like a 15, 16-year-old teenage reader, more than anything else. And as such a reader at the time, I really appreciated this level of thoughtfulness in his writing. So then we got the humor too, because that's another thing that Peter David, the late Peter David, was renowned for. And so we've got cultural references of the time. Now The Simpsons, of course, is still going to this day, but really its heyday, in my opinion, was the early 90s. So we've got a big banner there, Gamma Rad Man, Doc Simpson. So this is, it looks like, well, it's a t-shirt rather that Rick is wearing. And the name of his band is Seduction of the Innocent, it would appear. And of course, Seduction of the Innocent was the name, this is another reference of Peter David's, the name of the psychologist Dr. Frederick Wortham's book, published in 1954, which blamed juvenile delinquency on comics, and which led to the creation of the Comics Code Authority by the major publishers in order to avoid censorship and having the industry shut down by government, because there was a House hearing on juvenile delinquency and comic books that was sparked by the publication of Wortham's book. So what's the lyrics of the song that Rick is singing? Well, let's go through them. Well, he's for the fantastic, he's for the incredible. The line he draws is truly indelible. He's an artist, buddy, he ain't no hack. Who went off to war and who came back? Who went off to war and who came back? So who do you think that's a reference to? One of the major creators behind Marvel Comics in the 60s. Let's turn the page. King Jack. So it's all referential to Jack Kirby, and reference to his creation of the co-creation of the Fantastic Four, the Incredible Hulk, of course. And then that's a little sly little one there. He's an artist, buddy, he ain't no hack, because Jack Kirby, when he came back from DC Comics and his creation of the Fourth World Comics in the 1970s, after he left Marvel in 1969, when he came back in the mid to late 70s, there was a new generation of creators at Marvel, and the story goes that some of them had a rather dismissive attitude to Kirby's work when he returned to Marvel. His work on Captain America in particular, they saw it as dated, it wasn't cool, and they called him Jack the Hack. So Peter David making reference to that. Now, who's here supporting Rick and his band, except for Marlo, his girlfriend, and Betty Banner, who's got that new haircut and hair dye job. She's blonde now. And so they're enjoying themselves, and Betty's even remarking on the handsomeness of the drummer. And here in the background, in shadow, is her husband. It is the Incredible Hulk. He's silent. He's not enjoying himself. The bartender says, "And what do you feel like, big guy?" And the Hulk responds, "An outsider." So he meant, what does he want to drink? But then Agamemnon appears, and Hulk exclaims, "Hey, what are you doing here?" But the barman can't see him at all. "You know, on second thought, maybe you shouldn't have anything to drink," he says to the Hulk. "Green body paint and hallucinations. Guy must be from LA." So what does the Hulk want to know from Agamemnon? Why didn't he see you, he asks. Agamemnon explains, "I've keyed my holographic form to your brainwave pattern, Dr. Banner. Only you can see me or hear me tell you that the Pantheon needs you." Because Agamemnon wants the Hulk recruited to the Pantheon, wants the Hulk to help make the world a better place. The Hulk responds, "What I need is to try and put a life back together with Betty. Look at me skulking like Emil Blonsky. Go find someone else to do whatever you need." So a reference to the previous few issues where the Hulk encountered the Abomination in New York City in the middle of Infinity Gauntlet, and the disappearance, quote, or slash rather, death of half the human populace of the planet because of Thanos' actions, millions and millions of light years away. So what does Agamemnon say? He says, we did We used Achilles, and I believe he's gone renegade. So a lot has happened between Delphi asking Achilles what he would do, and we're going to pick up what he's done as we go through the comic. So there's a little bit of banter and comedy there between Rick, Marlowe and Betty, but then Rick sees that the Hulk is there at the exit door and he's gesturing to Rick, and so Rick is on his way. Sorry hun, gotta go, he says. Something's come up, you can drive my car home. Oh, and grab my guitar. Okay, later, he says. And then the scene switches to, and we gather from the dialogue that it's Jerusalem, Israel, and there's a meeting here between an Israeli official and a foreign husband and wife from the fictional country of Draburg, which is chosen to establish relations with Israel. And the Israeli official says, and I must apologize for that unpleasantness in Tel Aviv. And the man responds, that's quite all right, Mr. Rabin. Have you caught the man yet? No, nor do we know why he attacked your family, but we have our top agent, Sabra, on the case. So the Israeli guy says, Mrs. Mir, you're an American, I understand. She says, I was, but I came to Draburg on a student visa and fell in love with the country and its people, certain people in particular. So Draburg, where is it? It's got to be somewhere in Europe, right? And it's probably somewhere in Central Europe, fictional country. And in comes this child. And the woman explains, this is our son, Max, a little tired from the plane trip, and he's been getting a lot of headaches lately. So remember that one. What are those headaches about? And the woman says, Max, this is Mr. Rabin from the Israeli government. Say hello. So then the scene shifts, or rather our point of view shifts to outside this particular building. We're looking in the window here from the vantage point, or from the perspective of this man with blonde hair. Who is it? It's Silent Achilles. And we infer that he must have attempted to kill the child in Tel Aviv. That's what's being referenced there. So that's what Agamemnon meant when he said that Achilles has gone renegade. So now aboard the Pantheon's jet, we have the Hulk and we've got Rick Jones. That's a really nice anchor image there of the Hulk resting with his shirt off. So we get to see Dale Keown's command of that really, what would I say, like outsized anatomy of the Hulk. And the Hulk is still talking to Agamemnon. Rick can't see him. Cool. Does he look like Dean Stockwell, he says. And then Agamemnon appears. So that's another reference, cultural reference of the time period, a reference to the TV series Quantum Leap. And as I said, Agamemnon appears. And we're going to get a bit more information here on what he wants the Hulk to do. He says to him, Dr. Banner, if you could go back in time and kill Adolf Hitler as a child, thereby saving millions of lives and averting World War II, would you do it? So that is the implication is the hedonic calculus of utilitarian ethics, where the end justifies the means, where the happiness of the many outweighs the happiness of the one or the few. But the Hulk responds, voicing the perspective of deontological morality. I can't see any circumstances where I'd kill a child. Still, it's an age-old question, isn't it? And Agamemnon says there's a young man presently in Israel named Max Mir. He's 13. Remember, 13 or thereabouts is adolescence, is the age that mutant powers manifest. So is this guy a mutant? Is that what the headaches have something to do with, the manifestation of mutant powers? Anyway, Agamemnon continues. He says, Delphi has seen a vision that he shall become the next Hitler. He will marshal his home country, Draburg, into one of the most devastating war machines on earth. I sent Achilles to Israel to find the boy and not to kill him. Agamemnon continues and says, and convince the parents that the best place for the lad is with us. And Rick adds, and if his folks aren't keen on turning him over to strangers for safekeeping? Agamemnon begins to fade out. A good question, Mr. Jones, and a moot one. Achilles tried to kill the boy in Tel Aviv and was thwarted by an Israeli super agent named Sabra. Now Achilles has vanished and Israel is far beyond my projection range. Indeed, we're reaching that range now. I want you to bring him back, Dr. Banner, and hopefully the boy as well. And if I can't bring the boy back, asks the Hulk. You have free will, Doctor, replies Agamemnon. You must do as your conscience dictates. Now, of course, the names of the pantheon, Agamemnon, they evoke figures from ancient Greek history and myth. And of course, in Greek tragedy, and most particularly Sophocles' Oedipus the King, there is this play with the idea of whether free will trumps fate or otherwise, because there's a prophecy about Oedipus and when he's born that he'll be responsible for killing his father, and so his father has him thrown exposed out into the countryside to die, and yet he's found by a shepherd who brings him up as his son. And of course Oedipus on the road to Thebes runs into his father the king, doesn't recognize him, they get into a fight and he kills him. So even though the king took measures in order to avoid the fate prophesied for him, it happened nonetheless. And so those kinds of considerations are also hovering between the lines and between the panels of this particular story of Peter David's, I would say. So then we're back in Reno and Marlowe is emerging there. She's remembered Rick's guitar, and she's heading out on the street where they're met by a paparazzi who snaps Betty's picture, and he says, I'm David Guntley with the Reno Trib, and I'd like to know more about your present status. Surely our readers would be interested in the current doings of the Hulk's wife. So Betty isn't going to play ball. She says, I don't care about your readers. And then, of course, we got to have a joke for Marlowe. And don't call her Shirley. You have to make a joke of it. Says Betty, sorry. And off they go in Rick's car. And then we're back in Israel at the Dralberg embassy. And the boy is bored. He meets the Israeli diplomat's daughter. Her name is Greta. I'm Greta Rabin. My dad works for the Knesset. Knesset is the Israeli parliament. And she continues and gives him a proposal. Want to get out of here? He says, nah, I should really hang around. You know, on second thought, yeah, let's go. So these two young teenagers decide to head out together and explore the old city. So off they go as he loosens his tie. And everything seems quite innocent to this point. And let's continue here, get past that advertisement. And the security guards notice the two teenagers running out. And one of them turns out to be Sabra in disguise. And so she's on the case now. And outside too in the city is Rick and the Hulk, and they're communicating via these watch communicators. And Rick here is trying some agent speak, daddy-o to Big Daddy, two hatchlings have flown the nest. And the Hulk just doesn't get what he's talking about. Rick, what are you talking about? So Rick makes it plain. Two kids just ditched the embassy bash, and one of them's our boy. So the Hulk here says in his pinstripe suit, follow them and keep me apprised of your whereabouts, and shout when you spot Achilles. We want to draw him out, and I'm not exactly built for covert tailing. So here's the two teenagers going through the old city of Jerusalem. I've never visited it. I'd like to visit at some point in the future, but not when a bomb is going to drop on my head or explode in the street. I'll go at a time if in the future it becomes more peaceful there in that part of the world. So off they go, the old city, the streets are like mazes sometimes, and the ordinary security guard is running after them, and Rick spots him and them. That Achilles disguised as a cop, or the genuine article, he wonders to himself. Let's continue here, get past the advertisement. And this is like something out of Indiana Jones and the what's it called again? The first one, Raiders of the Lost Ark. You know, where you've got people getting in the way with a big rolled up carpet. And so Rick loses track of the guy there. I mean, like, he could have just slid between their legs and continued following him, but he doesn't get to see what happens to the guy. The guy's punched out, and so he says to the Hulk, Bruce, I lost him. Well, find them, replies the Hulk. I know. Wouldn't want to have my junior G-Man badge and decoder ring revoked. So that's an old Dick Tracy reference there. Again, in Peter David's script, always with the references and allusions. And so they've made their way into a bookshop. And Max asks the bookseller how much for the book. 10 shekels, says the seller. And at that, it's marked down. And Greta says to him, Max, you're supposed to haggle. It's expected. So he says, all right, I'll give you 5 for it. And the bookseller says, you are crazy. Best I can do. But look, Max just catches his eyes with his own glance. And the seller here changes his mind. 5 it is. So did he use a power there? Was there the manifestation of some kind of psionic power? Mind control? Well, a hand reaches out from behind and grabs him by the shoulder, and it's Achilles. And just that stance there, it kind of reminds me of Terminator 2. And isn't it Robert Patrick is the actor's name who played the T-1000? Just something about that reminds me of that, the look on him. But Max bravely throws the book right in his face, and he and Greta run off. So Achilles is going after them. Again, they're in the old city. Who's this in the foreground with a big green hand? It's got to be the Hulk, of course. What I really like in this particular panel is how Dale Keown has just gestured towards the skyline of Jerusalem there and allowed Glynis Oliver to fill in the shapes with colour. And I think it's very effective. So then we get a top-down angle of the Hulk wearing the cloak, racing after Achilles. Achilles going after the kids. And big anchor image of Sabra, who has spotted the Hulk, and she says that they're there and running from a behemoth the size of a scud. So she punches him, says to him, you're under arrest, because of course she is an agent of the state. Let's turn the page. She knocks the Hulk through one of those walls. He rips off the cloak and reveals himself. I don't care. He says, she obviously doesn't know what the story is here. He thinks to himself, rather. She obviously doesn't know what the story is here. And if I lose track of Achilles, it'll be a very short story. Got to tell her fast. So he calls out her name, and she responds, the Hulk. I should have known. You must be in league with the ones trying to kill the boy. Jumping to a conclusion there. Shields circulated word that you're more dangerous than ever. So let's now put a stop to you. So she shoots him with her energy quills, and one of them goes right into his mouth and hits him in the larynx, paralyzing it, so he can't talk. So there's no way to reason with her. And she thinks to herself, I know a couple of my quills got him, but probably nowhere near enough to slow him down. So he strikes at her. She kicks him. She's got super strength, remember, because of the Israeli super soldier program. And she says, I'm no slouch in the strength department myself. When was the last time the Hulk said anything quotable anyway? And then we pick up with the kids. In that maze of the old city, they run into a dead end. Here's Achilles. He's preparing to shoot the boy. He says, nothing personal, boy, but a close friend saw a vision with your face in it. A vision I'm going to make sure it doesn't come true. Yeah, another kind of like relationship to Terminator 2, of course, where the whole plot of sending the Terminator in the first movie back is to kill the future leader of the human resistance group, of course. And here he says to kill the mother of the future leader of the human resistance group, just to be correct about that, to kill Sarah Connors. And Achilles says to the boy, I promise you won't feel a thing. But Rick is just about to make contact with Achilles. Football tackles him just in time. Let's turn the page. And the Hulk here still hasn't got his voice back. It's coming back, but he's shot in the back. He turns around here. He's enraged. Sabra dodges his lunge, but he manages to catch that cloak, which I find interesting because, of course, you know, a question that any kind of intelligent reader of superhero comics would have is, why do certain characters wear cloaks? when they are a liability in fights where they can be grabbed just like this. In any case, Hulk uses the cloak to slam her on the ground. So good fight choreography here from Dale Keown. Meanwhile, there's a fight going on between Achilles and Rick Jones. Look at the way he catches him right under the sternum there. That's got to hurt. And then he gets Rick in a headlock. And Rick says, I can break this hold in my sleep. And then I'll break you. So tough words there. The kids are escaping again. And now Max uses his power, whatever it is, to persuade the crowd to attack Achilles. A man down that alley tried to kill me, he says to them. Get him, kill him. And there he is smiling as they go running after Achilles. So the Hulk here seems to be getting the best of Sabra. He's looming over her. She looks like she's in trouble. Costume is shredded there. And now both Rick and Achilles find themselves surrounded by a hostile mob of Arabs and Jews. Next, hiding behind mosques. Peter David, you got to have a pun. So 1 page of letters there. Nothing very interesting. And that is it. Like these concluding panels, cliffhanger, double cliffhanger for the next issue. I do hope that you enjoyed this review and commentary of Incredible Hulk number 386. Let me know your thoughts on this one in the comment section, including, if you like, your answer to the question of would you kill Hitler as a baby? Are you a proponent of utilitarian ethics, or are you more of a deontological morality person and you think that you could never, it would be immoral to kill an innocent baby? Let me know your thoughts on that one and we'll solve that question in the comment section. If you enjoyed my review and commentary, please like and share the video. It really does help the channel. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.